Thanks so much for tuning in to my video today. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic, medium, spirit navigator. Today we're going to be talking about politics. You've been so kind as to send in your questions, and I will do my best to have my spirit guides answer them. I also just want to say quickly that my apologies to anybody who took me seriously when in my last video in the very beginning, I said none of you sent any wellness checks on me. I was simply actually being funny, but I understand that I'm so earnest that my humor doesn't land. But if anybody knows me, especially after you watch that video, you understand that Liz Cheney triggers me. And I was just kidding because, well, she just got a medal from Biden. So I was just trying to kid you guys saying that, you know, Liz Cheney got a medal. Nobody checked on me to see if I was, doing okay. It was a joke. But thank you for caring about me. I really do. Let's get going. Your questions. DD Abel says, whatever happened to the Poly Market arrest? So, right, there's this guy who decided that he would run odds on the election, the presidential election. And his take on it, his bet on that turned out to be exactly, I think exactly the actual vote, which that's not really that possible, right? That's like the odds are just insane, just for all kinds of reasons, which we all know. Okay, so your question, and this guy he got investigated. I think his phone was taken, his girlfriend, wife, somebody in his house phone was taken. He's being investigated. Okay. This is a big web. The spirit guides are showing me a big web. It's not really any different than it was in 2022. These same institutions have been investigating through RICO, right? Racketeering, through mob type racketeering associations. They've been investigating these people. The problem is that you have, like, if you imagine a spider web, and then at each of the points where the web connects, there's either a person with a green sign or a red sign. Okay. So that information, the evidence, even the go ahead with the investigation or stop with the investigation happens at all these spider web, points where the webs connect, right? And the problem is that there are people placed in various roles of government and in the alphabet groups, the FBI, whatever, that are stopping, or the guides want to use the word stymieing, which is kind of like slowing down. So yeah, they are investigating the Poly Market guy. They're investigating everybody, but they keep running up against these walls, these people that either slow the investigation, or even worse, the guides are showing me, they redirect the investigation. These people would be in a place of power, like the administrator, boss, whoever. And when all of these investigators come forward and present their evidence and say, wow, we're really onto something, we really want to present this to you, then that person says, if it's a red stop sign, it's a block, that person says, oh, I don't think you're right about this. I think you need to go look over here, right? Like, how many times have we heard that? I hate to say it, but even Alvin Bragg did it, right? In the very beginning, when his very veteran prosecutors brought forth that case against DJT, and he said, no, we don't have enough evidence, and they quit. Like, they walked out. Now, Bragg eventually brought a case against 45, but what was it, like a year or 16 months later? Do you know what that did? That bought so much time for DJT. So you have these people that you cannot look at what they're doing and say, you're cooking the books or you're on the wrong team, because the way they do it, it just looks like they're CYA. It looks like they're just covering their own caboose so that they don't get any trouble, right? But in reality, they're on the wrong side. So, you're stuck. If you work for this organization and you're an investigator and you do your work, you only have one part on that web. You can't back up and go to the CIA or to ATF. You're stuck. You're blocked. Okay? So that's what's happening with this Poly Market thing. There are people protecting him from further investigation. And But also, there is more than one agency interested or involved in this. So I think that there's more than one ways to get this done. Okay. And I think that's also what's happening with 45. Okay. But he is allegedly up to his eyeballs in this. He knows things, he's done things, he's been privy to conversations, privy to things that might be of interest to certain organizations. What the spirit guides would say is, this is not over. This is not over. And I think this is also why we get really tired, right? As a citizen, we get really tired because, my God, how much longer is this going to take? And why are we allowing this to happen? Well, we just described why. They're not doing something so egregious. They're slippery. You know what I mean? So it's very hard. This is not an easy thing for them to do, but justice continues. Justice continues. And they will hunt. And this is something the spirit guides have said for years. They always bring up, they started to say they will hunt them, right? Well, they always bring up those Nazi war criminals that escaped. Maybe they're living in Argentina. Maybe they're 90 years old. Finally, they get arrested. Have they lived 50 years of their life on the lam? Yes, but justice came knocking at their door eventually. Not that many people really truly get away with things. The majority of people, sooner or later, justice and karma knocks on their door. Okay. And you just have to let it go. And you just have to believe that that's not your job. That's karma's job. That's justice's job. And keep yourself healthy and sane, you know, in this time, so that when justice does happen, you can eat that popcorn, you can pop that cork, you can do that song and dance, right? We want to be sane and healthy enough to be able to celebrate. So next question is from Lorraine, and she says, and this is so true, the Simpsons writers seem to have some psychic abilities. Do they? Question mark. I don't even watch the Simpsons, but they've been on so many YouTube videos, TV shows, where it proves that they have this uncanny, the writers have this uncanny ability to predict the future. And I'm talking 5 years out, 10 years out, not 3 months out, years out. Yes, I do. And the Simpsons writers are very demure. They're like, "Oh no, we just look at the current events and we write about current events." Well, I don't know how you could look at current events when Barack Obama was president and come up with, something that we're going through now. I don't think it's all that obvious to the rest of us. So yes, I do think they're psychic. And I think a lot of people are psychic, perhaps you, and you don't know it. Because I'm telling you right now, I'm hella psychic and I didn't know it for like the majority of my life. I had no idea I was psychic. You don't know if you don't test it. So yeah, Simpsons writers, psychic. That's my psychic prediction about the psychic Simpsons writers. Okay, Lodo Boho says, will we see Jack Smith's reports? The spirit guides are saying yes, but they're going to be redacted. Actually, they might be heavily redacted, so heavily marked out. But we will see them, and there will be enough in there to be damning. But you guys, we have enough evidence. Truly, we don't need any more evidence. What we need is the willpower to do something about the evidence. That's what's missing here. And I think it's interesting that the guides before the election, time has no meaning, especially when I'm channeling. Remember when they saw the Jack Smith go through that magic curtain? Like, he was, 1 minute he's in his office and there's all these investigator prosecutors in that office, and he's standing facing his back to them, and this curtain appears, and he walks through the curtain and he disappears, and all of his prosecutors are like, whoa, that dude is magical. Well, I jumped through the curtain with him in this vision, and he ended up in this new place, this new land that sort of looks like Ireland to me, because it's just got a green field, like a beautiful green field that has a little hill to it. And I'm like, where did this man go? Right. And he pops up. behind the hill a little bit, and disappeared. So that kind of foretold the fact that he was probably going to be stepping away from this investigation. It doesn't mean this investigation is dead at all, because, like we just said, if this is blocked, the energy is going to find another way to get there. It's just like water. If you dam water, it could potentially find a new route. Okay. So justice is going to find a new route. And none of this is dead. Blocked does not mean dead. This is a temporary thing. Okay, let me move on. Christine says the feds raided Republican donor Alfie Oaks' home and business the day after the election. What was this raid associated with the presidential election, and what is the status of the case? The guides I'm going to say allegedly so that I stay in good standing. The guides just told me he's in big trouble. Big trouble. Uh, I feel like allegedly there could be I don't know anything about this case. Okay, so if this has been reported, I don't know. I feel like allegedly there could be arms, guns, weapons charges. And not even, maybe not now, but there's this sort of thing like where he could have allegedly, maybe, possibly, this is my opinion, been involved in some sort of weapons sale or weapons distribution, something about that. This feels very ATF, which is alcohol, tobacco, firearms, which is the part of and I think it's under Homeland Security. But anyway, I don't know. This is what I'm getting. He's in big trouble. They just keep saying to me he's in big trouble. I don't think he's going to get a pass, because right. Because the thing is, when I'm looking to the side, I'm getting a message that I can't get while I'm talking. Usually I can, but if it's like a bigger download, I have to just pause for a minute. So, yeah, I think he has something allegedly to do with the election, but they're going to do the lowest hanging fruit, if you've ever heard that term. Like, they're going to get the easiest thing, because if they can put him away with some easy charges, why spend all the extra manpower and all the extra money and take the extra risk to go after this other thing? So I feel like these weapon charges could be something that they pin on him and then put pressure on him to flip on somebody about the bigger charges around the election. And I heard election interference is what I just heard, allegedly. So he's in big trouble. Clock is ticking. Justice and karma and spirit don't have a clock. I mean, it's ticking, but their time keeping, their timeline is just not anything that makes any sense to humans. So I'm not expecting anything major to come out between now and like March or April, but I think he's going to resurface again in June, July as person of interest is what they just said. Could be a person of interest about another crime, allegedly, or something like that. He's going to be in the news kind of in the summertime, I feel like, as I look at his name. But you know what? He's going to suffer. I feel like he's going to suffer financially. I see his family. I don't know if he's married and has kids, but if he does, something about his family is going to suffer. He really could suffer a loss of income along the lines of the InfoWars guy who lost everything. That's kind of what I'm getting here. Now, I don't know why, but that's what they're telling me is, again, if you can't get these people on the thing that really we should get them on, we all want to get them on. Well, sometimes the IRS is handy. Sometimes other entities are able to bring this person down. And as long as they're out of circulation, that's all that matters, right? Like, I think these law enforcement entities look at it like that. Like, our goal is to take the bad guy out of it, whatever I just said, out of circulation. And if we can't do it, the IRS can. If the IRS can't do it, the ATF can. If the ATF can, maybe the state or the federal government. They don't care as long as somebody does it. Okay? So let's move on. And you know what? I'm sorry. Just a lot of information on that guy. He's a Well, he's not very, I don't know how to say this. I'm just going to say he might rat somebody out. He cannot withstand the rigors of a very robust interrogation, is what they just said. He cannot withstand the rigors of a robust interrogation. He's going to flop like a cheap suit. Okay. So anybody that's done business with him better be looking at their way out and be getting their lawyers, right? Um, let's see. Sally Thurston says, will an official announcement about election interference be broadcast before the inauguration? That's such a good question. I picked this because it has different energy than it has in the past. Okay, I need to be careful because the spirit is having some problem with your question. So I'm going to try to focus. Okay, official announcement. Is that the problem? It's a yes no or a yes but, and I need to figure out what is the yes and what is the but. Will official announcement broadcast before they want me to break it up into like five things. Okay, will an official announcement be broadcast? Yes or no? They're like maybe. That's the maybe part. It hasn't been decided yet. Again, if you don't watch my videos, if you haven't watched my videos, there's a lot of videos that explain why we are where we are. And it really helps, in my opinion, have sanity because you understand why the background, right? Like I'm all about the background. So when I say maybe, the problem is I see Biden with his arm behind his back like this. He doesn't want to do it. It doesn't help him with his goal. His goal is for Kamala Harris to be the 47th president. Okay. Now, why would I run up and down these bleachers over here and then, eat six, whatever? Why would I do all that? I don't want to do all that. I just want to do this. And you guys, if you ever have worked with a narcissist or a bully, anything you say to them, they're going to argue back. They're going to gaslight you. You're going to come out no better. There's no arguing with them. You just have to do it, okay? So, this election interference is going to be a big hullabaloo. People are going to be screaming and yelling about it. People are going to be rioting. It did any of that help? No, none of that helped. None of that is going to help Biden do what he wants to do. Okay? The only thing that I feel like is really going to help, oh, I see where you're going with that. Okay, I get it now. The only thing that I feel like is going to help is that we have some major announcement from foreign states, like Ruda, the NATO guy, or, well, I mean, basically the NATO guy. But it could be like a head of state that says two things. One could be we have evidence that 45 cooked the books on the election, and to embarrass the United States of America, we're going to publish it. This is goes all the way back years. The guys told you guys, here's Biden trying to keep the lid on the pot. The pot's boiling over and he's trying to keep the lid on the pot. Remember, that's exactly the question you're asking. He doesn't want anything to get out. He wants to do it his way, okay? In the dark. One shot in the dark. So, what the guides always said was somebody could leak to the press, that we would have leaks to the press because years ago, they were talking about, Jan 6. They weren't talking about this election, but it's all the same, right? It's literally all the same energy. It's all the same maneuvers by 45. So if you have somebody like Iran coming out and saying, yeah, well, we got all the dirt and we've got a nice little publication that's going to produce it and we're going to embarrass the United States of America. That is how that announcement could come out. It wouldn't be an official. It would be an announcement. It would be a leak. And it would cause so much trouble for Biden because, again, he doesn't need it. He doesn't need all of this going on. He just needs to do what he needs to do to make this happen. Okay, so that's one way it can happen. The other way is that is NATO. NATO says, yeah, 45 was deleterious. Deleterious. Golly, these people with I can't even spell that. Please help me. Deleterious definition. Let me see. It means causing harm or damage. Okay, well, that makes sense. I don't even know what I was just saying because I was channeling, but 45 is deleterious um, deleterious actions caused us, caused our country to suffer harm, caused our people harm, and we're going to call that an act of war. Okay, like seriously, this is in Biden's back fifth pocket, like his last resort. That guy Ruda was just there meeting with Biden, just recently meeting with Biden at Camp David. Believe me, Biden is not doing nothing. He's doing everything he can. He just wants it to be surgical. He doesn't want it to be messy. He doesn't want everybody in the streets, whether you're on the right or the left. He doesn't want all that. He wants it to be clean, snap, done. And if he can go, and I did a video called Deal with the Devil. I'm sure a lot of you guys didn't watch it because you don't want to know about it. I don't blame you. But in that video, we talked about that if Biden could go to 45 and say, Iran's getting ready to put you on blast, and they're serious. And once that happens, I cannot protect you, right? You're going to be in prison because they have an international warrant now for you, especially if NATO has an international warrant for you. I did this whole video on this, right? Biden could go to 45 and say, here's the deal. I'll protect you. I'll keep you out of prison. But you have to go to the American people and say, whoops, I was framed by Russia. I didn't know anything. This Musk guy was involved. I mean, think about it. Trump would do that in a second. Get rid of Trump. You mean get rid of Musk? That would be great. Get rid of Trump for us. That would be great. He doesn't go to jail. That'd be great. It could be a win-win for everybody. So there are ways that this can all happen that literally make sense and are the way Biden prefers to do it. Not saying that's how it's going to happen. There's still a 5% chance, I think, that he could get into the White House. Okay, let's move on with the deleteriousness self. I don't even know if I answered your question at this point. Okay, Vicky says, you've been feeling something off about about Texas with the Senate election, and that's something definite going to happen there since the beginning. Do you see anything going on up the scenes? Okay, so she's talking about Texas, the state Senate, because it was even worse than the United States election because it was in the open. Like the things that happened were in plain view. And I will just say that Texas is in for some hard knocks, but the problem is that the powers that be in Texas, and this goes for a lot of other states, this is kind of our next problem. If Kamala gets in, she's looking at a red wall of states, a red wall of yucky ugliness. Okay. So Cruz and which I don't think he won. I do not think he won. And Abbott and Patrick and all these people that are in the Texas leadership, they have like a hold on the power. And it's not a legal hold, in my opinion. It's not legal whatsoever, but they're becoming emboldened. All of these people, like 45, are becoming emboldened. In some ways, China is becoming emboldened, right? Iran is becoming emboldened. All these bullies, Putin, all these bullies are becoming emboldened because if you don't stand up to a bully, they get worse. This is the same thing for people that do abuse, right? If you, first off, it starts out as something small and then it's verbal, and then pretty soon it escalates to physical because they're never going to stop. If you don't stop them or leave them, they're never going to stop. So here we are. We're on an escalator, basically, where the power structure gets more and more. They get more power. The power gets more tight, more powerful, and it's going to break. It's just our society, the way this country is made, with us being a republic full of independent states. I've talked about this in other videos, right? Well, if the red states want to get together like Texas and be completely immune to justice and have their own kind of justice, well, then what's going to happen is that California and Oregon and Washington are going to band together, and they're going to have a nice little uh, international connection to Canada, and they're going to have a great international connection with all of the seaports along the way. They're going to have a great international connection to Mexico, and they don't really need Texas. You know what I mean? Like, they can do without us. So I feel like when push comes to shove, and that's where we're going with this, right? Because absolute power cannot be sustained. I just think Texas is coming up against some really hard truths. And I think that we're not quite there yet, where we have the moxie or we have the gall to force justice. Give us a couple of months, give us 6 months. We going into this new astrological energy that's all about power to the people, and it's all about justice. And if we get Kamala in the White House, and they stand down against her, which we know they're going to, because they already did it to Biden. Texas said, screw you, we don't care, we're Texas and we don't care about federal laws. Well, Biden was a great president, but Kamala Harris is a different president. And she's not going to take that sitting down. Not at all. And she's already going to be loaded for bear because she's going to know it's coming. So I think Texas is going to get a wake up call. And I think Texas economy is going to start dropping off a cliff. Okay. So that's what I would say. Hopefully that makes sense. And I tried to make it bigger story because this is also the same attitude, let's say, of Florida, Wyoming, Idaho, some of these, maybe even Louisiana or Mississippi, Alabama. A lot of these states have that same attitude of, we'll go it alone. We don't need the blue states. When in reality, the blue states are the money makers, and the red states are the vampires. They're the ones that drain the money off of our country. And I think this is all going to be all too apparent in 2025, and especially in 2026. Okay. Um, Bill Ingwa, Bill Ingwa says, is Kay Harris ever going to be president? I think she is. I think she's going to be president in 25. I think there's a 5% chance that she doesn't make it. But if she doesn't make it, she'll go to California, she'll win governor, and she'll circle back when it's a better time for her anyway, right? This would be, I mean, it matches what the spirit guides predicted. They said, in 2020, when I first ever saw her, she will be president. She's destined to be president, and she will rule over a divided country with the left and the right fighting each other, and she would be fair. This sounds pretty much like it to me, right? But she has free will. She has free will. If she decides, I don't really want this, this is crazy land, I'm not going to be effective, I'm only going to make it worse because I'm the first Black woman president, she might decide, I don't want to do this. I don't blame her. I don't blame her at all. I really don't. So that's what I think about that. Okay, let's move on. B. Peters says, I'd love to know if Stacey Abrams will either become governor of Georgia or pursue a national seat in the future. Love her. I love her too. She is another person who's, what the guides are telling me is she's buying her time, or biding her time, maybe biding her time to the right, she's waiting for the right timing. There's just, if you know that you're going to be shouted down. You're not going to be respected. You're not going to get anything done. Then it's not your time. She's biding her time. And when the time is right, she will step into that leadership role as lieutenant governor. I feel like lieutenant governor, but anyway, governor, lieutenant governor, or even senator. I feel like when I go into her energy right now, she's really considering running for Senate. She's considering running for Senate. So yeah, she's not out. She's simply being strategic. You can only take so much abuse, really and truly. And you don't need to take it, don't take it. Wait until there's a clear opening and then go for it. And that's what she's doing. Plus, she knows that stuff's going to go down. I mean, look at Matt Gaetz. Look at Tucker Carlson. Look at the guy who had InfoWars. These were big people that disappeared. Okay, just look at P. Diddy. You guys can't tell me people don't ever get held accountable. Maybe 45 isn't, but overall, kind of bigger people are starting to be held to account. And this is just the beginning of that. This is gaining steam. And she kind of wants to stay out of the way. Like I always tell you guys, stay out of karma's way. You're going to stick your face, your big head in the middle of karma's path, and you're going to get whack-a-mole. Don't do it. Let karma do her thing. When the coast is clear, you can come out and do your thing. That's exactly what she is doing. And it's very smart. Okay, I'm just going to do maybe two more. I'm going to keep these short, and I'm going to do multiple versions of them. John says, why did Hakeem Jeffries say we have no election deniers on our side? Because we are not denying the election. We're proving it. Like you could say that he's mincing words here, but he's saying we're not a denier. A denier denotes that you don't have any evidence and you're a conspiracy theorist and you're just like, we don't have any evidence, but we deny. He is going to come with the goods. They're not in, this is Biden, this is all of them. They're not going to open their mouths until they can put together enough evidence to prove it. Okay, that's why he said that. It's not that he's saying we don't think it was stolen. He knows it was stolen. As I go into his energy, he knows obviously more than we do, right? He's got access to lots of intelligence and also lots of intelligence that is real. Like again, when I go into that spider web, there's intelligence reports from people that are co-opted, that are bought off, and there's other intelligence reports that are the real deal. Also, he has talked, and I don't know why this is coming through. I'm seeing that general that was a general during 45's reign of terror, the white guy with the square jaw. I don't remember which one that was. I think he's got light colored eyes, but I don't know. Anyway, he's met with this guy. He knows the real deal. He knows the real deal. And I would say this is an important thing. When I go into his energy, he's sleeping well at night. Does that blow your mind? Because it blows my mind. I never even thought about whether he was sleeping at night, right? Like, I mean, but if I did think about it, I would think that he's not sleeping and he's eating a bottle of Tums every night. He's sleeping good at night. That tells me that he feels good about the future, that he feels that they're doing everything they can and that they have a plan, right? I think that's the most important thing, right? Like in your own life, you might be going through some kind of hardship. If you don't have a plan, it just feels horrible. It feels like you're being run over and taken advantage of and you can't ever get ahead. But if you're going through a hardship and you have a plan, like, oh yeah, this job is terrible, but I'm going back and getting a certification, or this job is terrible, but I'm shopping my resume. or this job is terrible, but I'm getting ready to put in my resignation, you have a plan. You're sleeping. You're not worried. Guess what? Hakeem Jeffries has a plan. He's not worried. He's not worried. I did not know that. That's cool. Okay, well, I never asked the question. That's why I like asking these questions, because I don't think to ask them. Last question, and then I'm going to do part two. Ram says, can we ask the guides about the cargo ships dragging their anchors and cutting underwater cables? There was just an incident in Taiwan. There have been others in the Baltic Sea. You're welcome. This has been going on for a long time. I don't know if we all realize this, but this is not a new tactic. Okay, Russia has been doing this allegedly for a long time, years and years. Okay, now what's new is that they're doing, it's just like everything. They're doing it to the degree that you can't ignore it. You know what I mean? If they just did it once a year, people would probably, rather than deal with that kind of blowback of dealing with Russia, they would say, just an accident, we'll repair it, no problem. But now they're cutting them all the time. Again, back to that analogy of bullies will escalate. They're escalating their power moves. Now, this is a really good point that I'm about to make, because when I was talking about that, they showed me a whole picture of all of this, which ties it all in together. And if you know me, I love that more than anything. So here's the thing, it's escalating. You've got more and more cables being cut. You've even got countries kind of arresting the ship that cut the cables, and then found all this spyware on that ship. It's supposed to be a goods container, just a regular old shipping boat, not any kind of spy Navy military vessel. That's an escalation. But this thing that Ram, whoever you are, says about Taiwan, that's a big escalation, because now we're talking China, and we know that China wants Taiwan. We know that. We know that. We know that. They've threatened them all the time. And also they're just now showing me North Korea with South Korea. Okay, so these are the players, right? Like, for right now, let's just say China, North Korea, and Russia. Now, the reason this is happening, and this is the part that I hadn't quite crystallized in my consciousness until just now, is that they're all showing their power, right? They're all flexing their muscle. Just pretend. They're flexing their muscle. I'm strong. I can do anything. You can't stop me, right? Isn't that what 45 does? You can't stop me. Nobody can touch this. Well, now countries are doing this, right? We have even Germany and Austria and all these places, their elections starting to go to the right. Well, it looks like all these dark energies are flexing their muscle. Now, why now? Especially, let's just focus on, as you point out, this underwater cable thing. Well, because 45, they're thinking 45 is going to be in office, and 45 would just as soon send a missile than to send an email. I mean, we all know he can't write, but he could push a button. You know what I mean? So this is why you have this escalation of threats around the world, because they're thinking, all right, we got a madman with the nuclear codes. We need to really show our might. Think back to how much more North Korea was sending out their rockets and missiles when 45 was in office versus when Biden has been in office, right? Biden sends out this thing, I'm cool, you're cool, we're all cool, we're all here to do the thing, let's just do the thing. Trump sends out the message of, I'm going to attack you. I'm going to move into Canada. I'm taking over Canada. I'm taking over Mexico. I'm taking over whoever I want. I'll do whatever I want. So that's riled up all of these dictators who are now saying, we'll do what we want to. We'll take Taiwan. Russia took Ukraine. It's basically like a smash and grab across the world. Everybody take what you want. If you've got the military might, you can take whatever you want. If the United States wants to take Canada, go ahead. Right? That's the energy that is really prevalent right now. And I think that's another reason why NATO chief Rudy met with Biden, because he's like, dude, in case you didn't know, your country's kitchen is on fire. And you keep telling me you got it under control, but I don't think you do. And that fire is about to spread all around the world, and that becomes my problem. So, what's going on? Right? And Biden's like, oh man, it's okay, man. It's okay. It's all right. We got it. Never discount a Biden. Never discount America, right? He's got his glasses on. He's like, oh, it's okay. And this guy's like, you know, I don't think it's okay. I think Biden's got something planned. I think he's got it ace up his sleeve, and I think that he's going to pull it off. And I think that it's a shot in the dark, is what he keeps telling me. And the other thing he keeps telling me, and I don't understand this, he keeps saying, "I'll die trying." I don't know what that means, but he keeps saying, "Over my dead body, and I'll die trying." I don't know. I'm just telling you that nothing like normal is going to make this happen. Like no protest is going to make this happen. No states not certifying is going to make this happen. No Jeffries saying this was rigged. None of that's going to make this happen. It can't. It can't. America is a great big, they're just going to work and coming home and trying to pay their bills and trying to raise their kids and trying to do, what it takes to stay alive. They're not tuned into this. You can't just pull the rug out from under them and say, by the way, the election was stolen. And here's the keys, Kamala. Do a good job. That isn't going to work. So really, it has to be what the guides are saying, a catastrophic event. Okay? A catastrophic event to bring us to our knees. I'll say it again, similar to 9/11. And can Biden plan that? No, I don't think so. I don't think that's what Biden has planned. But I think that could happen. I think that this energy feels like it's out of control. Like Biden thinks he can control it. Trump thinks he can control it. Putin, Xi, anybody, they all think they can control this energy. You cannot. You cannot. It's a live wire that's bouncing around, burning things, and just cleansing. Really, fire cleanses, right? So it's kind of cleansing whatever it touches, but we don't know where it's going to go next or how it's going to land. It's out of our control at this point, right? So I don't know, maybe that doesn't make you feel any better, but it does me, because it means you're not in control. I'm not in control. And I think this is a whole lesson about control. I can't control Jeffries or anybody. I can't control Biden. I can't control Liz Cheney. I can't control the Republicans. I can't. So worrying about all this and being upset about it, being incensed about it, and being enraged about it is wounding and poisoning me, because all that anger is all in my energy, stewing, boiling, poisoning me. It's literally poisoning me. I've got to let it go. I've got to release it. And I have to admit, I am one human in the United States of America. I did what I could do. Now all I can do is stay in the light, hold the light, lift all those people up in the light, lift up the FBI, lift up the investigators, lift up Biden, lift up Kamala Harris. Why not, even if you can get some hazmat suits, some spiritual hazmat suit, lift up 45. Maybe if we all lift him up enough, he'll just float up into the sky, into the great McDonald's. I mean, come on. It's worth a try. But that is so much more, better use of our energy than mad and angry and fear, because none of that is going to help you in February or March or April. or even next September. None of that is going to help you. And I think a lot of us empathic people have empathic burnout. I know I do. I'm burned out. I can't even be angry anymore because I'm so over the whole thing, right? Like we're over it. We've tried to talk to those Trumpers. We've tried to talk to, we sent letters to our Congress people, our senators, to Biden and said, please do something. We've done what we can do. We have to just know that everything is going to be okay. We're going to be okay, and let it go. If we were not going to be okay, I would be telling you. I would be telling you, right? Do this, do that, right? The only thing I see coming next year, and it's a question I'll cover in the next video, is potentially some sort of economic downturn. And some of that is just because we don't care anymore. If corporations don't care about us, we don't care about them. Savage, savage, savage. We will just do without that new thing. We're just going to stop buying, basically, is what's going to happen. And I saw this meme that said, the United States of America, our whole country runs on citizens buying things. We're not a great exporter of goods, right? That Reagan killed that. We don't make things. We don't make our money by making things. We make our money because citizens spend their money. And if citizens stop spending their money, like let's say citizens started spending their money the way they did in 1970 at that level, we would be in a depression. So if humans stop spending money, it's actually going to tank the economy. But I don't, and I don't think we're doing it. The other thing that's interesting is we're not really doing it consciously. We're subconsciously thinking about joining buying clubs. We're subconsciously thinking about downsizing. When Biden was in office, people bought and spent and bought and spent, and the economy was hot. We had the best economy in the world, the entire world. Well, even if Kamala gets in, people are done. They're toast. Their limbic systems are fried. I think that's nervous system. That's what the spirit guides are saying. And when your nervous system is fried, you don't feel safe. If you don't feel safe, you're not going to be adding on to your house or remodeling your kitchen or buying that new house or buying that new car as much. Yes, people will do it, but less so. That's going to cause some problems for our economy. So going forward, I see more of a challenge for the economy. And I see a challenge in red states because I think overall, events like my event that I do every year, am I going to have it in a red state? You better believe I'm not, because you guys wouldn't show up. I'm not going to have my event in a red state, you know, but that's going to kind of build. You're going to start seeing corporations note, well, I can't go to Florida because when I go to Florida, people don't show up. We're going to start voting with our pocketbooks. Some of that is going to be conscious. We're consciously choose. Some of it's going to be subconscious. We're just not even going to be thinking about it, right? Because we don't feel safe. Okay. So that's something that if you want to know what I think that I'm a little worried about, I'm a little concerned about, that's what I'm concerned about. Not concerned about a lot of the stuff that 45 is going to do. I think that if he gets in and he starts trying to push buttons to blow up things, I think his generals will not do it. I think they'll ignore him, and I think he'll be impeached very, very quickly. That's what I think. He's not a king. He still has the Senate. He still has the House. He still has the Supreme Court. And even though they treated him like a king when he wasn't in power, now that he is in power, that 5% chance, they're going to be afraid of him. So they're going to take away his power because they don't want to lose their power. Okay. All right. Stay tuned for part 2. Thanks for watching to the end. I really do appreciate you. If you're new here, please consider hitting the subscribe button. If you've been around for a while, check to make sure you're still subscribed. And I would love to hear from you. Hit the comments. Please note, I do have a class coming up this next weekend on abundance, manifesting abundance, something you might be interested in, because Who doesn't need more money, especially now? Click the description down below. Also, I have an online community where there's a private, safe space for you to talk politics, and there's a private, safe space for you to talk spirituality. We have over 750 members. We've had a lot of new members lately. And it's yours. You can share videos, you can share articles, you can talk with each other, chat with each other, support each other. It's your community. Okay. I also spend about 4 hours a month with you guys there. So if you're interested in that, click the link below as well. That is only $12 a month. All right, everybody. Take really good care of yourselves. We're going to get through this. Just please, please, please don't be on the roller coaster that we're about to be on, because you're going to get sick and you're going to throw up. And then, nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. Okay. Take really good care of yourself. I'll see you good really soon. For entertainment purposes only,